And I welcome you all here. Give me a moment to put myself together. It takes longer than that, but I've been working at it since 8 o'clock, so I'm just about put together. Thank you. So, what I'm talking about today is our theme for the whole month has been Welcome Home. And what I put on for my title of the talk is We've Been Waiting for You. So this is one of, I had said in the morning when I welcomed you, right in the beginning, it's one of my favorite things. And it was something that I heard a long time ago from another minister at a conference that I had gone to. And it was, Welcome Home, we've been waiting for you. And it touched me deeply. And I wasn't maybe even sure why then, but it has come more to life for me since then. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So this isn't necessarily a lesson or a teaching or anything like that. It's kind of like more, I'm going to be talking from my experience of Welcome Home. So I think one thing earlier on for me was that I had been spiritually alone for a while. I was raised traditional Christian, but for various reasons, and that's a whole other talk as to why and how I left that. But I had been alone spiritually for a while, and I think the problem is I didn't even know it. Now I had a good job. I had a lot of friends. Was doing what I love to do. I was and still am married to the love of my life. All was well. All was good. But there was no connection. There was this spiritual side of me that I did not know how to connect to. So I did nothing for years, for many years. And it left sort of a space. Sometimes you don't even notice it. Maybe you don't know, but there was an empty space. A space that can't be filled with physical things. It's kind of that unknowable, unseeable. Buying the toys, spending the money, having the house, even all the friends. It didn't fill that gap. And I love my family and my spouse, and at least for me, I thought that was all I needed for some time. But I think maybe we both felt that something was missing. And as I think about it, or as I thought about it, as I was putting together my notes, we didn't even know that something was missing until we found it, capital I-T. We found our spirituality, our spiritual selves. And that was what was missing. There was this longing, an urge that my science and my math, my academics, by itself did not fill the gap. I spent a long time in my earlier years, after giving up my traditional teachings, looking for answers for why. I didn't get satisfied where I was when I was young. I had questions. Why this? Why that? Why is the sky blue? So many questions. How could there be a different God for people in Pakistan, in India, in China, and here in America? And from my teachings that I had, it appeared that only the people in my church were ever going to survive all of this. So I spent a lot of time finding out how things worked. But there were still those questions, those unanswerable questions I felt that I never got an answer for. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Is there a God? Is there something more than this? I ask questions about how do you explain intuition? How do you define love? How do all those birds know where and how to fly in the summer? How do they know how to build a nest? Nobody teaches them. They never get those lessons. They know. Where does that come from? Any of that making any sense? I can go on just talking about myself, but it's nice to know if it touches something else out there where you can relate to it. It helps. Sometimes it was like being alone even though you're surrounded by people. And especially if you're surrounded by a lot of people who don't think the same as you. It's very uncomfortable. But I did have good friends. None that I could talk to about what we talk about here. And when I did try or started talking to especially my family about Jesus and God in metaphysical terms, it did not go over well. They were sure Claire and I were members of a new cult state. We were going ahead. There was bad influence on me. And she says, yay. So they felt I was lost, you know, and I did too, I think, no home. I was lost. But part of me knew that I had just been found. Some of you here may feel the same about this group, about this community, this little tribe that we have here, this philosophy, this way of thinking, this new life. And it's not that I didn't love my family or respect their path, it just wasn't mine. And the more that I learn that it's really only slightly different, our paths. Because I truly believe that our paths are going to the same place. However you get there is how you get there. This is just one of many paths to get to the same place, to find home. So basically, we're very similar. No matter what language you speak, what country you live in, what your particular customs are, what you were taught in Sunday school, we all love, we all hurt, we all feel sadness and joy, and it's the same around the world. People you think are very different or have different religions or beliefs, they still love. They still want what's best for their children. They still ache and hurt, and they still want joy and happiness, just like you. And even though they have a different language, it's the same. We want to protect our loved ones, just because they're a little bit different. I have my nephew-in-law. My nephew-in-law is my niece's husband is a minister in a Christian church. And our beliefs and our teachings are a little bit different. But we are each on our own path, and I think we know that of each other. What we teach is a little bit different. What we each know as our truth serves him, it serves me, and I love him dearly, but I know that without a doubt that our goals are the same, and that at the end of the journey, we're ending up in the same place. A even when you pass, and you leave this physical human body. See, I believe in the spirit and the soul, our spirituality, who we are, the essence of us is not just this. It's so much more. It's so much more. And I call it the immortal soul. So in a way, you are immortal. Because when the physical body goes, the spiritual soul survives. It exists. It existed before we were here, and it will exist afterwards. So we're not apart or separate from that oneness, from that God. We are one with it in a bigger sense of who we are. Our immortal soul, our self, never dies. Lives forever. And I know, ultimately, there are many homes as you go along. This may be a home, you may have a home in a house nearby, a very sacred place to you, and you're at home. Maybe here you feel at home. And you know, when I reach that place at the end of this physical journey, I again will be at home. So if today was your first day, or maybe you felt it when you did come in for your first day. Maybe you felt comfortable. Maybe you felt loved. Maybe you felt at ease. Maybe you felt something when you walked in, and as you're sitting there, you think, this feels good. You're at home. You are at peace. And we have been waiting for you. That unknowable force that is pulling you, that pulled you maybe to find this place, that someone was attracted into your life that said, oh, you should see this, you should try this. And you do, and it feels good. All those impulses, all those urges, all that pulling, all of that spiritual movement has brought you here. And it is bigger than us. So maybe you are on that path to find your spiritual self, and this is it. Maybe it's not finding your spiritual self you're looking for. Maybe it's to find yourself. Maybe you're looking for friends or people of like mind or happiness. But you're looking for yourself. Maybe you've been hurt and you're looking for some relief. Rumi said, our wounds are where the light comes in. It's hard sometimes to think of it, but don't we get our greatest strength, our greatest rewards, sometimes from our greatest challenges? In the Science of Mind magazine, last month, Kathy Julien wrote, our wounds are our pathways home to ourselves, she said. And I think that when we find ourselves, we find God. See, God for me, for many years, was a bearded man in the clouds that passed out judgment. It's a harsh, loving God. It was one of the things that didn't make sense to me. So for a long time, I tried to separate myself from that image. And it was difficult for a long time for me to speak about or even refer to my source, my spiritual self, the ultimate reality, whatever you choose to call the force. Just even say God. So I went from that traditional belief, and this was only when I was 13 years old, and then I left that and I went to science and math. That's where I was getting some answers. And that was really served me, and that wasn't for everybody. It's not everybody's path, but it was mine. It answered questions for me. It worked for me. So I went from traditional to science. And then I found religious science. Even their name was like, I'm going there. Fit for me. But religious science was more than just religion. It was a philosophy. It's a way of living. It is all about new thoughts. And now I'm in a place, again, where I'm comfortable with God. We have a new understanding, God and I, and our roles and our understanding of each other and of our true essence. And then I thought after I wrote that, and then I put that on paper, and I thought, well, you know what? Maybe it was just me that came to an understanding. I think the divine truth, the love energy, the spiritual source of all things, pretty much already knew, was said. I wasn't changing anything. So I have a new understanding. When we come together, your spiritual self, and the spiritual source of all things, then we are one. And when that happens, we too, again, are at home. And where I am now in my life, after my travels and journeys and paths, and it never ends. I learn it all. All of a sudden become without burdens or pains or sorrows, but I'm a little further along on the path than I was when I was 13. So the truth is, I don't judge as much as I used to. And I think we always judge, and we probably always will, because we have an opinion, we have a thought, we know the truth. And I know certain things are right, certain things are wrong. And when others agree with me, it's baffling. Well, how can I help them? How can I fix them? How can I change them? Stop that. I can't even do Allison justice. She's English. Stop it. Stop it. I don't have to always be right anymore. I respond to life more than I react to life. Hopefully I'm a little bit wiser, a little bit more loving, more calm, more understanding, more peaceful. And also, I'm not letting my brain lead as much as I used to. Instead, I'm letting my heart move me. And you do need both. I think with my class some time ago, I talked about, whenever, is it 14 billion years ago? We watched Big Bang on TV, love the show. 14 billion years. And it all started, and we went through an age of, to survive, you had to avoid these dinosaurs, these monsters. You had to get into caves, you had to protect, you had to learn ways to survive. And we had an intellect, we had to use our brains. And so we did. And fear and flight and all of these other things developed in us to keep us safe. But we've gone past that. We still have our intellect, and we still need to use it. But I think to guide our lives is the time to move to the heart, away from just the brain. And if you don't know what to do, this has been a mantra of mine for a long time. Don't do anything. Just stop. Just stop. Pray and listen. You know, or you may know, that God, your spiritual self, your higher self, knows. You're stuck. Don't know what to do. Take a breath. If you were at meditation this morning, just stop, breathe. Breathe in love, let go of fear, and wait for the answers. Okay, and if they don't come after a couple of hours, move on, come back to it later. It's okay, with permission. And this is my, my role kind of now, and this is what I'm doing right now, and this is what I believe right now, and what makes me happy, and where I am at peace and at love. Come back next year and see where we all are. Doesn't mean you have to stay. You'll probably change, and that's okay too. There was this old saying, I kind of have changed this now. The old saying was, home is where you hang your hat. And then I thought, well, I come from an era when everybody wore hats. You go to work and have a suit and tie and would wear a hat. You don't see that much anymore. It's a hat. You got some hat. So home is where you hang your hat. And so this thought to me came, well, we put the hats on our head, and so that was an era when we used our heads to guide us through everything. And I thought, so let's change that. Now we're going to say, and many people say this already, but home is where your heart is. So if you're here or anywhere and you feel good and your heart feels good, then you're at home. That's where it is. Home is where the heart is. If you're here and your heart still aches for whatever reason, maybe for what brought you here looking for answers, it's okay. You're still here. You're still welcome. You're still at home. You just have a little work to do. Have much to learn. As I was writing this talk, we went to see a movie called The Shack. I don't know, has anyone seen The Shack? I loved that movie, and it really spoke to me about how I feel it is. I really connected to it, and its lessons about life. Now, I've never had the loss that this young man felt. Matt was his name. And he had tragically lost a child. And he was lost. And he couldn't find his way back home. And he refused to forgive because he could not see past his pain. He could not see past his hate. And he was living in a place of what we call victim consciousness, where it was all done to him. That absolutely the world, that God did it. That it was God's fault. And I don't know if you have any inkling, and maybe some of you do, how hard it is to climb out of the depths of living in victim consciousness where you know it's somebody else's fault. Matt found his way out with the help of a few friends. Now, rising out of that place, that was for him finding his way home. Through forgiveness and understanding, he found some peace. And he found his way home. If you've ever climbed out of that ditch or trench you've been digging, that you thought was just a roof. And you know what it feels like to get out of it. Being at home. It takes courage, and there are many steps in the process. But you are on your way. And I hope that we are a welcome part of that trip. That I can say many times to you, welcome home. I wanted to share something from you that's sort of like, Mark Nebo, where have I heard that name before? So it's something a book that Claire and I are reading together. And so talk amongst yourselves. Page is not hard. There it is. Okay. This is what Mark said, and this goes back to February. It was cutting a path. Carl Jung had a dream that he was cutting a path in the woods, unsure where it was leading, but working hard at it nonetheless. Tired and sweating, he came upon a cabin in a clearing. He dropped his tools and approached the cabin. Through the window, he saw a being in prayer at a simple altar. The door was open and Jung went in. As he drew closer, he realized that the being in prayer was himself, and that his life of cutting a path was this being's dream. What Jung brings to us is the never-ending task of deciding to whom we entrust our life, our true or false self. For all the seriousness with which we run about in the world, fixing, denying, projecting, and sacrificing, for all the schemes and the strategies and alliances and positioning for reward, it is all an unreal dream to the center of our being that waits for us, far inside while we hack our way through life. Without knowing it, we, like Jung, work hard at cutting a path to our deeper self that waits patiently for us to arrive. All tired, aching, and out of breath, once that path is cleared, and once the being at our center is discovered, we can return to the world in a relationship with our soul. We can discover a deeper, more peaceful sense of home. He has a short thing here I just want to do. We have a moment. If you would join with me, just close your eyes. Be still. In a meditative state. Just being calm, breathing in, breathing out. Journey inward. Journey inward to that place, to that cabin where your soul awaits you. Imagine the cabin. No one else knows it's there. You are safe. It is where your soul awaits you. Drop all that you are carrying at the door. Drop all that waits to be done at the door. And as you breathe, enter the cabin and wait. Wait with open arms for the center of your being to realize you are there. As you breathe, feel your soul embrace you. Embrace it back. Share a moment. Take a breath. It is time to come back. Turn to me. Welcome home. Let's take a moment. The children are ready. Let us close in prayer. Close your eyes and return to the cabin if you choose, or just be peaceful in your chair. And recognize that you are whole, perfect, and complete right now, just as you are. Drop all that other stuff at the door. All the judgments, all the uncertainties, all of the struggles, all of the what ifs, buts. Drop it at the door. And know, step in as a whole being, your spiritual self, your higher self. Know that you are loved, that you are loving, that you are lovable. Know that you are enough. Stand there with your higher self, with your soul, and know that wherever you go, when you have that peaceful, at-one feeling, you are at home. Follow your heart. Know that you are good, that you were created out of goodness, that anything unlike it is not the truth. Just let it go. Be at one. Be in truth. Know that you are enough. Know that you make a difference in your own life and in others. Just smile to yourself. This self that you found in your cabin has never been damaged, has never been hurt. It is pure as the light. Just share a moment with yourself. Say thank you to yourself. I'm so grateful for all that I have, for all receive. I am at peace. I am at home. Welcome. I've been waiting for you. And so thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lyle.
You are welcome. I'm going to ask if the ushers would please pass us on the back. This is a time when we do our offering and our blessing. So in advance, I thank you for your time and for your sharing with us, of your time, your talent, your treasure. Appreciate it. Keeps us going. As they get ready and get the baskets in there, you'll find this offering of blessing and affirmation. So I want you to read it with an open heart and knowing that so much good comes from you. So thank you just for being here. It's much to keep this place going, so I appreciate anything you can do. And read it with me. Read with me. Joyfully I give with gratitude, for I know that as I give, I am given. I allow the abundant nature of the universe